right, that is Walkable. Look, man, very, very nice chatting to Brian from Walkable. Listen, guys, catch them out all over, well, the world and the country. Now, we are going straight into the smartest topic of the day. Right, now it's a young planners and designers digital publication, right? This is from the South African Cities Network. Now, in 2020, the South African Cities Network held the Young Planners and Designers competition as part of their inclusion and well-being program. Now, hashtag Digital Dash is a sprint across some fresh perspectives from the top 9 entrants of the competition who examine what possibilities lie ahead for South African cities. You're looking at co-creating cities, sustainability, integration, and the likes. Now, I am with the program manager responsible for this work, and since it's Youth Month, I've got the one and only Miss Spelele Ngobese, who is joining me for the next 30 to 45 minutes to chat about this. Spare, girl, how are you doing?
I am fine, Loz. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to your wonderful listeners this wonderful Saturday afternoon.
Thank you so much for making the time to come here. When I started following South African Cities Network, I literally went into one of you guys' subsidiaries, which is the Smart Cities Network. I was just blown. I was busy with, last year I was busy with a whole lot of smart cities and smart home technology stuff, just doing research, because with the direction the world is going. Then I bump into the South African Cities Network. Now it's Youth Month. You guys have got this excellent Young and Planners Designers publication that's out, and then I want to talk more about the hashtag Digital Dash and the program that you are managing. Tell me more about that.
So thank you for the amazing introduction. I am from the South African Cities Network. As you mentioned, we do work across a lot of exciting fields, but just the long and short of it is that we work very closely with the biggest metropolitan municipalities in the country, so including Ekurhuleni, city of Johannesburg, and so on. And we work together, so we learn quite a lot from them, and we also generate quite a lot of research and intelligence that is aimed to make their practices better. So when it comes to their delivering of services, because the municipal or the local level is where service delivery happens. The other levels of government are just about making policy and doing the overall overseeing, but the local level are the people who are closest to communities. So it's quite important to have institutions like ours that assist at the level of knowledge research, so that whatever is done so in a smart way. So you talk about smart cities, it's not just about tech, but how do you stretch limited resources, especially in the time of COVID? How do cities allocate whatever they do have in the best possible way? And how do cities, you mentioned youth, how do cities make sure that young people, because cities or local governments or the municipal level is also just, there's the side of service delivery which they are responsible for, but there's also the side of they are meant to support democracy and democratic participation, meaning that it's their responsibility and their mandate to make sure that all of us, communities, business sector, knowledge institutions, universities, and so on, participate in decision making, are part of, are consulted and deeply consulted about what happens and how investments are made, how decisions are made, and budgeting and so on. So that's where we come in, and the Young Planners and Designers essay competition was precisely about supporting the local government level to include young people, getting a sense of what young people are thinking about the future of our cities. And it became so much more important because the competition happened just as we were going into lockdown, and as much as it was a dark and uncertain time, it became a great opportunity to really get the ideas of young people around how they envision their future cities.
I like that. What did you find I like the fact that there's research and development going into this, so that by the time whatever implementations are done at high level, they come from expert advice, right? There's research. I'm interested in, what did you find? You guys, there's a lot of findings, just like this catch. But what did you you find when you looked at young people and their understanding of the inclusiveness with democracy, their mandates, and your mandate as trying to reach your objective, what's the attitude from young people?
What's so exciting, you usually hear in different quarters that young people are uninterested, they are despondent, they are not involved or wanting to be involved. What we are finding is that there's actually the opposite. Young people, even if you look at nationally, young people are involved in quite a lot of discussions, debates. They are voicing quite loud, but whether they are heard is another story, right? But what we are finding from the essay competition, some of the entries, oh my God, such exciting thoughts, opinions, critiques. Young people who are in the spaces of architecture, urban planning, urban development, urban governance, making really, really pointed critiques about the way things are done now. To say that perhaps, we always say that South Africa's got a lot of wonderful policy, but when it comes to implementation, it seems like we tend to hit a wall. Why is that? And young people are saying, you know what, it's about the actual system within which positive things are supposed to happen. That system does not reward the kind of city practice and the kind of city planner that can drive transformation, that can transform space, that can transform the economy, that can transform society, right? And they are saying we need different techniques. We need to deepen the way that city governments, local governments include, and that young people, we've got great ideas. Young people have ideas about how you can make cities greener by leveraging public transport and linking that to human settlement. So very wonderful ideas about how you can completely transform society and make cities more efficient. Young people making, very great arguments about city sustainability and greening, to say that these are some of the techniques that you could use. How do you make streets more walkable? How do you make city environments? It's more than just a street for car traffic. There should be public transport there that is safe and affordable. The street should be something that links to other things. It's not just brick and mortar. It's not just a street for the sake of a street, but something that can drive social cohesion, social interaction between people. Also safety, because the more you have eyes on the street and everybody feels like they own the space, everybody feels safer. So driving very, very, very key points about integrated planning, integrated implementation, that a human settlements unit should be working with a planning unit. It shouldn't be just about houses and top structures, but how does that housing link to job opportunities, to education, to public space, safe public space, parks, pavements, and things like that, so that you are building a society. You're not just delivering services by components. Water is not just water.
It brings me, I don't want to cut you. I want to actually carry on from you. It brings me to my next question. Your finding is that young people are actually very involved. It's not that they're disinterested. You guys are there. I find that one of the things you guys are doing, you're bridging a gap between decision makers in high local or provincial government and society, right? Now, where do you find, it's Youth Month, I'd like to just focus on just briefly, where do you find now, you guys do the research, you find, look, young people have got a lot to contribute, but there is an element, or there's a perception that they're despondent. Where is the perception, where it's coming from, I would imagine is from largely the decision makers at the top level. Where is that gap not being bridged, and why that perception? Because this brings, we're going into elections now. The last elections we had, and this is so relevant, the last elections we had, half of the people that did not vote were eligible were young people. And that has a lot to do with decision making, where they feel like, no, we do have something to contribute, but we feel as if it's not getting there, whether it's landing on the wrong ears. Now, when it comes to the decision makers, when you guys go up there and say, listen, guys, this is what's actually from the ground. Africa's got the youngest nation in the world of young people. Where do you find that the connection. I don't want to say between the old, let me just say between the decision makers and those innovative ideas that are there that can benefit cities. Where is the stumbling block between getting young people involved or them feeling that they become part of the budget speech, or when council calls people to come through for whatever they need? You don't find young people going there. What is it that's making young people feel as if with all the great ideas we have, I'd rather go overseas, or I'd rather go work in Santon, or the moment I get my degree, I'm moving out of it. I say, I don't feel I can contribute in any way. Why is that, Gabby?
Okay, so you mentioned something very key and very important, that Africa is a very young continent. That's no different for South Africa and for South African cities. So the 9 metros that we engage with in our research and that are members of our network, so 8 of the big metros are members of our network. So it is Ekurhuleni, our favorite, and then and then we've got City of Johannesburg, we've got City of Tshwane, which is Pretoria, we've got eThekwini, Durban, we've got Nelson Mandela Bay, we've got Mangaung, which is Bloemfontein, and we've got Buffalo City, which is East London, and Msunduzi, Pietermaritzburg. So those are our participating or member cities, and in those cities,
those are vibrant cities.
Vibrant cities with a lot of opportunity, and our research actually shows that average incomes in those cities, in South African cities and towns. So right now I'm talking about cities because we're the cities network, but we've got other types of municipalities. You've got towns, you've got what is called in a formal sense intermediary cities, which is the smaller towns, your Richards Bays, your Rustenburgs, and then you've got local municipalities, you've got district municipalities. We work at the level of the large metros, which are the drivers of the economy. A lot of the industriousness that's happening in our country, and a lot of what feeds into our economy happens in those happens in those cities. So in Gauteng, you've got 3 metros in one province. You've got Ekurhuleni, you've got Joburg, you've got Tshwane, right? And those are big economic actors. Those are big, local levels are administrators of space. So let me go back to your question. 37% of South African cities have youthful populations of up to 37% to 40% of urban populations are people between the ages of 18 and 35. At the same time, as young people voice quite, on a lot, they are recognized as a vulnerable group. So what are vulnerable groups? Some vulnerable groups include people that are historically excluded, including women, children, people living with disabilities, migrants, youth. So, what comes with being a marginalized population is exclusion from space, exclusion from economy, exclusion from decision-making processes as well. And our policy in South Africa recognizes that everybody must participate, everybody must be part of. So where the disconnect happens is precisely within the systems as well, where I don't know whether they are positioned to be able to absorb what is expressed, because it's one thing to consult. There's different levels of participation, right? Participation can be consultation. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Your level of being able to input on that is quite limited.
What you do with that information.
Then there's working together, where we co-create. The institution working together with society, working together with, different sectors of society.
Absolutely.
We're making decisions together. It's what we call cooperative governance, And there's deeper and deeper levels of participation. What you normally find and what our institutions and our systems tend to be built for is more the consultative part of participation. And we're saying go deeper, involve people in decision making, bring people into let's look at the budget and decide together how to structure and where to invest, things of that nature. So much deeper than just, so we need to, I wouldn't say that it's not there. I wouldn't say that there's a complete disconnect, but when we look at different cities, they're at different places in terms of how they are running their participation processes. Some cities are having great success in engaging.
What is the difference? Specifically with young people's
it's different contexts, and that's why your approaches have to be tailored for each city context. So you've got cities that have a challenge with gangsterism, illicit firearms, young people who are exposed. They are both the big victims and perpetrators of crime and violence, and so sometimes it's difficult to engage in those kinds of settings for obvious reasons. Sometimes the city, and you need to find a way to bridge that. Some cities have great mechanisms that they've had for over 20 years, tried and tested methods that they run. Some cities are in the beginning stages of thinking about, so that's where we come in, because we said that we are a knowledge analysis, research, intelligence. So we have to develop practical tools to support the cities to be able to be receptive to what they hear and what they see. So we've got like small tools like how to run a community engagement process. It's one thing to run a community engagement process with village elders. You have to be aware of the cultural differences and how you engage.
Yes,
but when you're engaging with young people, again, it's a different set of tools that you need. So just for an example, one of our participating cities, the city of Johannesburg, they were doing an upgrade of a city park in the city, and part of the process was designing a very specific and deep participation process of the profile of people who live in this area, mostly young, and it's not always families, it's different familial setups, right? How do you engage children around what that park should look like and what purpose it should serve? How do you engage teenagers, young adults, around what their needs are of a park?
Aren't they a problem? I just want to focus on young adults, guys, like 18 to 25. What happens?
There's so much potential there that I think is untapped, and I tend to want to stay away from viewing young people as a problem.
Yes.
In a lot of cases, it's just a case of they are not understood and nobody is talking to them in a language that they understand and that makes sense to them. So it's quite important for cities and institutions to learn the different ways of engaging with different members and citizens of the city.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Young planners and designers, digital publications, the competition you guys ran.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. As a program manager, in fact, what are you dealing with?
So I'm the overall program manager for Inclusive Cities. The Youth Project is one of our interventions that we do in recognition of the fact that cities have to drive participation and democracy, and that it is our role to assist them in bettering their processes in so doing. So what we found, I had a wonderful, such a brilliant young lady named Khuluhelo Mugere, who was the intern in the program of the time. She was actually the project manager, because for us, we thought it was important for the whole process to be run by young people from start to end.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the young person who is coordinating the project itself, calling for the different essays, and helping with the judging and adjudication and so on. And that was such a wonderful process, and it proved the need for platforms and spaces where young people can express, and where they are expressing ideas of such quality that you want to see those ideas manifest in the different ways that their cities are doing things. We had a lot of entries from young people in Durban, young people in Pretoria. So the different university communities, we drove the entries there. So we filtered quite a lot of messaging to the planning and architecture departments of various universities and institutions across the country. And so much brilliance and yeah, I feel like the future is in good hands.
Good,
You know,
it
yeah,
is.
like
I
when
always
you
say
look
that.
at some of the ideas, and so that's why I like to I prefer not to view young people as a problem or a challenge. You know, they are change makers, people who who are going to change this country and who are going to change their cities. And it is my hope that the people who are in the position of decision making are paying attention and looking how to tap into the potential that young people of South Africa and of South African cities have and can contribute.
All right, I'm sitting with the one and only Ms. Amos Pay. She's the program manager for hashtag Digital Dash Young Planners and Designers, the South African Cities Network, the program manager for that. And we're looking at, it's Youth Month. And you know, I've been following the South African Cities Network online, I think for about 6 months now. And I've just been glued to it. Hence, I was like, let me send them an email and invite them to the show.
Okay.
Here's what I want to know. And this is what everybody wants to know. How can young people get involved? Guys, I went online. You guys have got a brilliantly user-friendly website. I like the fonts. I like the wording. I like, you know, it is. Look, for example, I'm on hashtag Digital Dash. It takes the top 8. Lean thinking, dream, Delft, Cape Town, the future of Durban, steering change, more than a ticking box.
Yep.
This sounds like something a young person would be like, hey, let me get onto this. Now, how can young people, or what type of young people can get into this, and why should they get into this? You know, someone might be listening and say, hey, this sounds like something that is out of my grasp.
Yeah.
But because young people have got data, guys, by taking that.
But to in a city,
Exactly.
so it's
how can they
should be involved?
How do they become a part of this?
So Tinene, as SACN, we've got various. So we've got a big youth-centered project. Lapo, Digital Dash, and the Young Planners and Designers competition is just one facet. And in that facet, we engage with young people who are already in the field. So they are students, they are new practitioners within cities, they are working at the municipal level, they are students of architecture, planning, development, and related fields. And then we have another project which is called the Youth and City Space Project, where we engage with young people who come from different levels of experience in terms of education, different fields that are not necessarily related to what we do, because we see the need for all young people to be able to get familiar and understand local government systems, so that they are empowered. It's one thing to participate, it's one thing to voice, it's one thing to, contribute, but when you are empowered and you've got the knowledge and you've got the understanding, it has so much more impact. So within that program, we call on young people from different backgrounds who may not necessarily feel like they know anything about architecture, spatial design, and all these, flowery terms that we have in our field, but they are also urban residents. They are also supposed to reap the benefit of living in cities, and therefore, just by virtue of that, it's important for them to be part of the process, and it's important for them to participate and to add their voice. So for us, we invite young people from all walks of life, because for us also it's an exchange. We don't just engage with young people to kind of extract from them ideas and things. We also want to learn from them. We also, you said that we come from an expert view. For us, we view those people in communities as the experts on what should happen with regards to development in their own spaces. So when you empower young people, so we've worked with young people to teach them different methods of research, different methods of gathering evidence, because we've said that, what you find, and one of the key challenges of implementation in our country is that sometimes we implement from the perspective of what we think is needed, and that's why you have situations where now communities are burning properties, and it's because, I don't know, it's that I wouldn't say a failure to listen, but the challenge of being able to pick up what's happening on the ground and being responsive to that in what you deliver. When a community says they need a clinic and you deliver a park, and so it's important to also go to the ground and get the local expertise from people. That means that when you invest billions into infrastructure, it's not watered down, it's not money down the drain, because if you've consulted and you had a deep participative process with communities, that means sustainability. That means that thing will exist for long because it's been in partnership with, in co-creation with communities, rather than something that is top down and then 6 months down the line it's been burnt down and that's money down the drain. It's also about rands and cents. It's also about saving and being efficient with limited resources, especially in an economy that has contracted under COVID and even prior.
Fantastic stuff. Sitting with the program manager for the South African Cities Network, #digital Mrs. Pelele Ngobese. I want to play a song. I'll take a short music break. When I come back, I just want to, when we close, it's exactly 1:30 right now. When we close, I would like you to give us your details and take us through the online process in terms of how young people, and in fact, the media, I work for the media. I want to speak about what role can we play. We're here for you guys. What role can we play and how young people can go online and get involved. I'm with the one and only Mrs. Pelele Ngobese, the program manager responsible for the South African Cities Network. #digital. I hope you guys are having a great youth month. Youth Day, I got for you guys. Right. This is the one and only Walkable. The one and only Tandi Swamazwai. I'm sitting with the one and only Miss Pelele Ngobese. Right, so I'm gonna get straight into it. Firstly, before we went on to the break, what role can media play in working? I'm all about cooperative governance. You know, I've been following you guys, and I'm in the media space. How can we be a tool for you guys to drive your objective?
It's doing things exactly like these, and I think I must actually just start by appreciating you for inviting us.
Thank you so much.
These are opportunities that are very wonderful for us to be able to communicate and share the messaging. I mean, you mentioned that local government elections are coming up. These are exactly some of the issues that we need to be plugged in on. In order to make our decisions, in terms of how we make the decision to vote, we must be very clued up and have our eyes open as to the issues that we should be having our pulse on. Smart cities, human settlements, water sanitation, safe, affordable transport, inclusion in decision making, budgeting, not just, hey guys, we're going to be doing a park here. No, show us the budget. Tell us, how is this going to link to a local economy, and how will young people in this area benefit? It needs to be a much more networked way of thinking, and that it's important for communities. Sometimes now I'm speaking as a voter, I'm speaking as a citizen. Sometimes we think our responsibility ends with casting the vote. It does not, and I think the time like now, where COVID is showing us so much that has gone wrong in terms of our governance and government systems, it's a lesson for us, even as voters, to try to stay involved and plugged in throughout the process, not just on the day of casting the vote. How do you engage and communicate with your local councillor? How do you make sure that he takes what you have said to those offices and rooms that you have sent him? How is he accountable? And how do we hold ourselves accountable as well, to say that, am I an active citizen? Am I involved? So, as much as we invite, and we really want to stress the point around inviting other people to be involved in these processes, and to not think of them as things that are not for us, things that are, for those people over there. It's not, guys.
Fantastic.
Let's all get involved. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Now, how would one go online? What are the platforms that young people can go online and register?
So you go to sacities.net. That's our website, where you can find a lot of our resources, reports, data. We've also got an open data platform called SCODA. That is where we deposit a lot of interesting stats about cities, whether you're looking for stuff about safety, about transport, about the built environment, bulk services and things like that. So it's quite exciting. You get to play around with data. You look at different data sets and you mix them. And what I've found so exciting is that since COVID, ordinary people like you and myself have become so much more interested in evidence and data. We've learned the importance of accurate, up-to-date and trustworthy data. And I think this is the point again that I want to raise, is that it's important for us to place good information at the forefront of what we are doing. We come from a time where in our society we've thought that, no guys, we've produced enough reports, we've produced enough policy, let's just implement. But implement what? We must be clear, because it's money, rents and cents. It must make sense, and so it's important driving that point around evidence, and why we have really structured our programs around empowering young people on how to gather evidence, so that when they identify problems to solve in their communities, you're not solving the wrong problem. Absolutely. Where you're still going to have the same problem remaining, or you just move the problem down the street to the next neighborhood. That's not what we want. We want, solutions that fit the problem.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Because of time, I have to cut this, but this cannot be the last time you and I communicate. Definitely. There's lots happening. I want to be one of you guys' media partners, and I'm so glad, guys. LinkedIn works, guys. Online works. Go on there, have a look at what is available. So what I would like to do, I've got your details.
Yeah.
I would like, because we're going into the elections now, and I would like
email.
Yes.
So my email is siphelele, SIPHELELE @sacities.net, and you can catch us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook @SACities Network.
Fantastic stuff. And let me tell you guys something. I'm going to be chatting to them again. Hopefully next month. I want to be able to chat to you guys each and every month.
Anytime.
Fantastic stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go straight back into the extra loud smash. Please greet your listeners.